Welcome back to New Rockstars. Zack Snyder's Justice League has restored the Snyderverse. If Warner Brothers will just decide to like money. Will this surely be the last we see of Snyder's DC vision, as it might be? Or could Snyder's Justice League Part 2 and Part 3 now be in some future alternate timeline that if we run fast enough with our hopes, we can skew right into? I'm Erik Voss, not Barry Allen. I can't run that fast. Watch our fitness videos. You'll see how capable I am of moving physically. This is Rogue Theory. With me is an amazing panel I'm so excited to talk about this with, starting with the co-host of our Falcon Winter Soldier after show, MT. Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy. It's always good to talk to you and fellow nerds, so this should be really fun.
And with us as well is friend of the show, Twitch streamer Angelica Trae.
Hi, it's good to be back. I'm excited to talk Snyder Cut.
Yeah, good to have you back. And returning guest, co-host of the Filmlosophers podcast, Eddie Villanueva.
What is
back,
up, guys? I am excited to be here. I'm excited to talk about this stuff, and I'm ready to just dive right in.
And let's do that. So the Snyder Cut restored Snyder's vision for Justice League, including the ways he intended the DC movie universe to carry on afterward into titles like The Batman, when Ben Affleck was still just going to make it his movie, and the Flash movie, and movies like Justice League Part 2 and Part 3. Snyder himself has sort of kept that door open by suggesting that, hey, if Warner was willing to let him recut Justice League, letting him direct a follow-up film isn't that more surprising. But Snyder has also graciously acknowledged that the theatrical cut remains the DCEU canon because, you know, Warner Brothers has the keys to the castle. And Warner CEO Ann Sarnoff signaled that the Snyder Cut was really the completion of Snyder's trilogy, and she was kind of hinting that they wanted to move on and not rehash old directorial visions like a David Ayer cut of Suicide Squad. But panel, let's help Warner see the light here, because this Snyder Cut gave this universe all the tools it needs to have an amazing, thrilling showdown with a Justice League Part 2 and Part 3 in the hands of Snyder. So if Zack Snyder's directing isn't up to your taste, viewer, that's totally fine. You know, you have plenty of other DC titles to look forward to. Let's just let the fans have this moment, can we? And I want to ask all of you, what should and would a Zack Snyder Justice League Part 2 look like now that we've all seen the Snyder Cut?
I think the first thing we have to honor in this particular iteration of the Snyder Cut is the fact that we get so much more of Cyborg and the heart of what this film originally intended to put out, that I have no problem having the second part build on top of Cyborg's story and continue that evolution of not only him understanding his powers and abilities, but him just understanding and recognizing and accepting himself. Like, I really hope that's the direction. That's one of the ideas that it's really top of mind moving forward, because I am, and I know there's a lot of other ways to say this, but I am completely surprised that it wasn't in the original cut. However, in this particular version, making his whole evolution and his whole story the heart of the film really gave light to a lot of things that we could actually potentially see down the road with DC.
Yeah. Agreed. And especially there were little moments in here, like in that epilogue scene with the Joker in that post-apocalyptic future, and how Cyborg seemed to be kind of contesting Batman for who was really the leader of that gang. He's like, we're exposed for too long. How much longer is it going to be there? It seemed like Cyborg had stepped up into more of a leadership role, which I really loved. And Batman even kind of gave him that torch when they both jumped on the Flying Fox, and he's like, oh, it's want is to fly, and he's like, it's yours too, you know? So I would definitely want Cyborg to be at the heart of that.
Yeah, and I can totally see more, because basically in the Snyder Cut, it fleshed out a lot more of Cyborg and Barry Allen's Flash character, and so it's setting up a lot more into Part 2, even with the epilogue, how important these characters are and just how much space for growth their character arcs could potentially have. And I think that's something that's really exciting, and something that could and would likely, you know, take the spotlight in Justice League Part 2.
I want to see more Flash stuff in a future sequel, because God, Snyder really fixed that boy. It was, I mean, obviously with Cyborg as well. Like, I'm very confused just how much Whedon decided was okay to cut. And like, you know, obviously Joss Whedon, you know, he did the best he could, I guess, with what he was doing. But like, good God, the Cyborg stuff and the Flash stuff, well, there's just a lot more, like, you just love those characters more.
Right.
And like, I'm really interested to see what they do with, you know, obviously with the canon Flashpoint movie that's coming out.
Yeah.
But I really hope that Warner Brothers decides to tie these two movies into, like Zack Snyder's Justice League anyway, and make it canon some way through the Flashpoint movies, because I think that'd be really cool. Because I think Snyder really did a really fantastic job. I say really like a zillion times, and that's just part of
We're
my
here
vocabulary.
for it.
Thank you.
We're really here for
The
it.
incredible thing about this, the most incredible thing about this movie is that everything had already been shot except for 5 minutes of it. Everything was already in can created except for 5 minutes of a 4-hour epic event. That's insane. That could have been the first movie.
Right.
That's true, which makes you think maybe the Snyderverse canon was underlying it all along. You know, we could deep dive into this and be like, it was there and it was happening, or some of this stuff was happening. You know, obviously not the things that were edited over, but yeah, like maybe it did happen. Maybe they can weave it into the greater DC canon of the universe.
Yeah, I don't see the canon of the Snyder Cut as too incompatible with the theatrical cut, just because the theatrical cut just left questions open-ended that the Snyder Cut just gave us answers to. Yeah. Like all the, you know, the Flash cameo in Batman v Superman and that whole nightmare vision future. We weren't really sure what that meant, but if you just look through the details of the Snyder Cut, it's like, oh, okay, these characters, when a timeline has been altered by a future Flash time reversal, the characters who are part of that timeline have these kind of echoes of what happens in that future. And we saw it happen with Bruce in Batman v Superman. We see it happen with Cyborg in this movie, right as Barry Allen is using his Speed Force to reverse time. That's precisely when Cyborg is like, whoa, something just changed in the future, and we're now on a different timeline, a different trajectory. So, you know, I don't think Snyder's being really gracious about it, but just, you know, the way Steppenwolf is killed, he's killed. Either way, there's a deeper threat out there in the cosmos. And, you know, I don't think it's wrong for fans of the Snyder Cut to feel like this is the true direction of where this universe is going.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Here's something I've been stewing over a little bit after I watched the Snyder Cut, because I was like, this movie's pretty good. And I was thinking, since it's on HBO Max, technically, Warner Brothers could go back and fix any continuity issues in previous films on their site. They could just literally edit a little bit and be like, all right, so like this happened in the Snyder Cut, but it didn't happen in canon. So we can just put that in and then give my boy Snyder a sequel, because God, it's such a better film. I've got to say, it's just it's a film. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it was really good. I wish I could have seen what Snyder would have ended up doing when he probably would have had to cut that down. So it would have been interesting to see how much of that character building, or, you know, those extra scenes, but would have been cut down or edited for the theatrical release. Yeah. But I thought it did a lot better in terms of fleshing out characters and representing Steppenwolf.
Let's anchor some plot points that seem to be headed forward into a part 2. So, like, we have in this epilogue scene with Lex Luthor meeting Deathstroke and telling him that that Batman is Bruce Wayne, and that was definitely setting up the Ben Affleck Batman story, in which Deathstroke was going to be the antagonist to that. But now Deathstroke, in this post-apocalyptic epilogue scene, is now joining Batman and his motley crew. So it seems like there's a defection from this Legion of Doom that was going to include Lex, Deathstroke, maybe the Joker and Harley Quinn as well, because we knew the original plan was to develop them in another movie. And then Joker's decision, it looks like, to kill Lois Lane in the Batcave was such a screw up move that ruined the universe and turned Superman into this dark figure that perhaps Deathstroke is like, whoa, buddy. I mean, we're mad at Batman, but we're not going to burn the whole world over it. So it looks like that's what led Deathstroke to defect. Do we think there were going to be other alternate death sequences or other moments that we're going to see play out as a result of Joker's actions?
Honestly, it's endless, because Joker is such a wild card, and, you know, we'll just let anything happen. So that plus the acknowledgement of a multiverse, and with all of, Barry Allen creating different timelines, I definitely think anything is possible now. And I was sitting there while watching the Snyder Cut wondering if Deathstroke, if that was an alternate timeline, in the epilogue versus just that ending right beforehand, because Deathstroke was so different. And of course there could be some wild, character arc that does change things. But I was just sitting there wondering, like, is this an alternate timeline? And then Batman wakes up and I go, was this whole movie just a dream?
It was all
Super Mario Brothers 2. It was all a dream.
Yeah.
Used to read one up magazine.
Of it.
And I think we're overlooking one other key death in terms of the one that could actually affect the outcome of how some of these things will come to pass, and that's possibly the death of Iris West. Since we've introduced her into this film, obviously Barry is very fixated on her. That slow motion, touch and stare and ogle.
A little weird.
The hot dog part was the favorite. I love when he put the hot dog in his pocket. I was like, A+ movie right there. I could stop.
I was
the
like,
hot
what are
dog
you
part
gonna do
was
with that
hilarious.
hot dog? Where's he gonna put that?
He seems so happy about the hot dog. I was like, this boy hasn't eaten in days. He's just like, yes, consumption. We're gonna save this for later.
That was an interesting shot for sure. It was sweet, and then it was like a hot dog suddenly interjected.
Yeah. But the coming to pass of that relationship coming to fruition, obviously, we know that we're going to revisit that. We know we're going to see his full affection for her, like fully displayed in front of her and with her. And the possibility of something happening that causes the death of Iris West, that could cause Barry to try to do Flashpoint, to create Flashpoint. And we could get Flashpoint somewhere in between all of that. That could be the cause of it, though, him trying to go back in time.
Yeah, I mean, he does have a lot of trauma with his mom and with the murder of his mom. And so having a romantic figure or a love figure become lost, would probably just have him just be like, if I can go back in time, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna save my mom and my boo. So
exactly.
Yeah, I like that, Eddie. That's a good
and
line
I want to talk more about specifically Flashpoint, this Flash movie, a little bit later in the show. But it is a very important question. How much time hopping do you think Snyder intended to happen in Justice League Part 2? My thinking is that maybe he was expecting for that to be explored in this Flashpoint movie, and then there's maybe going to be some alternate timeline, maybe some time reversal stuff, but kind of like Endgame, not overall a time travel story, but some kind of crossover event that is set maybe mostly in in the present day, as present day Batman is trying to connect with Joker and be like, what do I have to do to change your mind to get you not to kill Lois? And then we might have this kind of a Star Trek Next Generation finale thing where there's multiple timelines ripple affecting each other. We know where the future is, but we're really just staying focused on this present day timeline of Legion of Doom and certain members of the Legion of Doom being like, look, we're sorry that Joker did this. Having a Batman versus Joker conversation and that whole Jared Leto, Ben Affleck moment of he brings up Robin, Batman brings up Harley Quinn. Leto looks scared in that moment. I want to know what that was in reference to. I want to see that moment. And I'm wondering if that's what this part 2 was going to be.
Yeah.
That was definitely a moment. And that was actually a really good moment between Ben Affleck, between the Bat and the Joker too. And now I'm pondering into it, because that was actually probably one of my favorite moments with Jared Leto as Joker. And there's definitely a lot of different timeline suggestions going on in there. Barry Allen's now got armor too in that epilogue, so I'm wondering if that helps in any way. With the Joker, maybe they could try to bring back Harley. I don't know. I feel like the Bat, a lot of it seems to be the key is with Joker, and then obviously throughout the movie with Lois.
It could essentially be a portion derived from the Injustice storyline, where the Joker tricks Superman into ultimately killing Lois himself, which coming to find out she was also pregnant at the time. Now, obviously in that opening storyline, Superman goes to find the Joker in interrogation and kills him. Now, what if that's kind of part of the reason why Batman and the team has Joker, to keep Superman from finding him and killing him, ultimately solidifying this next portion of the apocalypse and everything to come in the end.
So you're saying that part 2 would be extending out the apocalypse.
Yeah,
From the
because
epilogue?
Barry saw it, and Barry probably saw that yes, Lois is the key, but I guess the ignition would be the killing of Joker and everything following suit.
Yeah, Eddie, I think you hit the nail on the head there. The idea that I think Injustice is what inspired Snyder the most with this post-apocalyptic scene, having a very dark Superman who becomes murderous essentially, and having to reconnect with him and have him rediscover his humanity. But yeah, Joker's death, the idea that we see the torn Joker card in Victor's vision tells us that in some future timeline, Batman broke the truce and just couldn't take it anymore. This freaking clown taunted him and then just beat him to death because he was tired of it. But that is not what we see at the end of the movie. So we're seeing multiple versions of events, and like Batman's goal is like, how do I not kill this freaking clown for what he's done to me and to the whole world? And Joker's thing is like, find the right answer, find the key, and his key is Harley Quinn. And I think that was what Snyder was hoping. There was going to be a whole Harley Quinn Joker movie where you see the relationship unfold, and that relationship is going to be so important. So the idea for Snyder, what's more important, like, how do you make Batman still relevant in a cosmic battle? You know, you got to have his relationship, his history with the Joker, and Joker's history with Harley Quinn matter. And I feel like this is how you make it matter.
And for one, just going off of what you said there, Eric, one of the things I would love to see is like a Harley Quinn origin story. I just want to put that out there. But also, what if in part 2 they ended up doing, basically before the epilogue, continuing that with Lex Luthor and Deathstroke, and so they have that where Lex Luthor is now trying to, I guess, get to Lois because that's like the key to everything. They kept mentioning that throughout the Snyder Cut. Lois is like the key, and everyone was emphasizing that. So I think that in part 2 it would be Lex Luthor trying to kill Lois, maybe figuring out that Lois is the key to Superman, and then having Deathstroke in the meantime go after, the Batman. And then maybe at the end of that part 2 would go back into another little snippet of that post-apocalyptic looking epilogue. And continuing it like in little bites.
Yeah, I agree with the little bites there, Angelica, because I think if it were all set in this Mad Max universe, I think people would feel like, oh, we have another bleak post-apocalyptic thing. I think the smarter move is to have it all set in the present day, but characters who just have knowledge of what happens in the future. And then, we just see little like flashes to that post-apocalyptic future to see how things are changing, or to give like flash forwards, in Lost, how they did flash forwards.
And you're trying to figure out what happened in between the whole time.
Yeah.
Keep them guessing.
And I think that would fill in some of the information of the visit by John Johns with Lois to keep her spirits high and not kind of give up, because if she passes, then that's...
I was just going to say, I think that's interesting how John Johns knew that Lois was the key. How much does he know about her future? Like, is Martian Manhunter part of that future as well? And he's kind of just this...
Possibly.
He must be, I think.
Yeah, he knew way too much. I think he's going to be one of those, like, omniscient characters that pops in and pops out, because like he I don't know, he knew a little too much, and every time they brought him in, which was pretty sparingly throughout the Snyder Cut, it was because of that. You can't have a character that's like too all-knowing. They have to be a little cryptic with it, otherwise they're just gonna tell everything, they're gonna spill all. I also think when they included, so they included a little bit of the Atom, like the scientist setup in Snyder Cut. I think that they might tie him into a part 2 as well.
Yeah, I think the Atom would show up, and I think Green Lantern. A lot of people are asking like, well, where's Hal Jordan or John Stewart? And I think Snyder has said he wanted Green Lantern to show up in part 3 of this.
Interesting.
Because once you bring in the Green Lantern Corps, like you could see the way Zack Snyder handled Green Lantern in this movie is like, well, we have the one in the ancient battle, he gets killed off, and then we'll have Kilowog show up in the ruins of the Hall of Justice. But I don't know how interested in the character Zack Snyder is.
I actually believe that Warner said that he couldn't use the lanterns.
Oh, was that it?
Yeah, because I remember, I
Okay.
think I read an article a couple days ago where like Warner was like, yeah, Green Lantern didn't do too good, so we're just gonna avoid the lanterns in
I
general.
see.
Yeah, that's a long walk home for this particular character. We got a lot of cleanup to do before we can get to that.
Fair enough. Yeah. And I know they wanted to have a Green Lantern Corps movie at some point, like around 2016, 2017. There were talks that there was going to be a Green Lantern Corps movie in like 2022 or something like that. I think that's all been scrapped now. And now they have Berlanti's doing a Green Lantern Corps show for HBO Max, I think, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So I want to cap this off with Snyder kind of teased that he actually had names for Justice League Part 2 and Justice League Part 3. He had a big document with just like name after name after name. It wasn't just going to be the number. It was going to, like we had Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and the Justice League, and the Justice League something.
Yeah.
So I want to hear you guys' pitches for what do you think Part 2 and Part 3 were going to be named?
It's hard to not say Endgame. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, in my head, I've already set it up as Part 2 being centered around Lex Luthor and Deathstroke, and so Lex is going after Superman through Lois, and Deathstroke is going obviously for the Batman because an eye for an eye, that joke. And it's all set up. So I'm thinking something along the lines of let's see, like Lex Luthor I want like an alliteration here. Lex Luthor gets Lois, or like, I don't know. I can't think of like a good word for it. Like
Lex Luthor loves lethal
loves
stuff,
lethal
something.
Lollipops.
Something with
Lickies,
Lois.
Loves lethal lollipops.
Lanterns.
Yeah, we need a full alliteration here.
Lamp.
Loves lamp.
Lazy
Yeah,
boy.
Lex Luthor loves lamp.
There you go.
And then Part 3, I would think they would tie in Darkseid again, looking for the anti-life equation on Earth somewhere. In my head, for some reason, I've got it like in a Snyder Cut or Snyderverse version, like in the pyramids for some reason. But it would be like Return to the Dark Side or something, you know?
Yeah,
Like
I
Part
feel
3,
like
Return to the
Darkseid-
Dark Side, and it's spelled like Dark Side.
Yeah.
Casting Mark
Darkseid
Hamill as the Joker.
would be somewhere in there. Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Oh, I love Mark
I
Hamill as
think-
Joker.
I would call a Justice League sequel, honestly, just straight up Injustice. Because the Injustice series is very popular and it deals with an evil Superman. And people who see that would probably be, just see the title, would probably just be like, oh, I know what this is about. And like, this is very intriguing. So I think they would just call it Injustice. And a Justice League 3 would probably just be like, the return of justice, more justice, justice is back.
Yeah.
So that's just me.
All the
But
justice.
I
like
feel
it.
like
extra justice.
I feel like if there's one thing that encapsulates every solid DCEU movie, and by that I just mean Man of Steel. I
agree.
One thing that
Sorry.
encapsulates all of the DCEU films and what they try to run through, that one common thread is relationships. That's what each film is built upon. You know, if you look at Man of Steel, the relationship between Superman and his fathers, and this relationship between him and Lois, and the relationship between him and Earthlings. You look at the next one, it's the relationship with, Batman and him understanding who Clark is, and it's based on relationships. That's why this particular Justice League was so successful. The relationship between Cyborg and his parents, the relationship between his relationship with him in the mother box, and then him with himself. That's what made it so successful. That's why it's such an enduring film. So I feel like if we're going to pitch Part 2 and Part 3, I would say Part 2 would be Justice League Love Lost, because we're going to look at possibly losing two key love interests with Lois and or possibly Iris West. And then the last one's going to have to be Justice League Lost Paradise, because we're going to look at where Justice League is going to be already in that apocalyptic state. And if you've read the comics or seen anything, there's a series called Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, where everything just goes all over the place. It goes to shit. And they go for one last chance, and it still is. There's a lot of casualties. People are gone. And at the tail end, the decision is to send Barry back in time, to rewind time, to fix it. And that's how it ends. And so I'm thinking, if you're Zack Snyder, and if you're wanting to ensure future occupational opportunities at the end of Justice League 3, you're going to make it so it's an open-ended opportunity to come back and fill in the gaps of that.
Very, very good take
I
there.
do
This
like
is
that a
still
lot.
Rogue Theory, guys. So despite it being just a nice conversation, I'm still mentally awarding points because I just have that kind of brain.
Oh, boy.
So just to give a point for this round, I'm going to give a golden sparkle buck to Eddie. I liked your titles there at the end. I think you have a pretty good take for where this would be. I would love to see all three of your versions of plot events for the future. But Eddie, I think, has the edge of the one I would go see first. And then I would say restore the MT cut and restore the Angelica cut. And I would go back and
Love's
forth
Lamb.
and say,
Yeah, Love's Lamb.
who's to say what is the true canon going forward? But good job, all three of you guys. We're going to talk more about the DCEU future that the Snyder Cut set up. But first, we want to thank some people who help sponsor us, starting with Audible. Thank you to Audible for sponsoring this episode. Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment all in one place. At Audible, you can find the largest selection of audiobooks from bestsellers and new releases to celebrity memoirs and more. They have original entertainment from top celebrity creators and thousands of popular and binge-worthy podcasts. And they've got everything you want. Lord of the Rings, Stephen King, Star Wars novels, and all of the Game of Thrones you'll need to catch up on before all these new series come out, because there's like 6 of them now. I'm really into their exclusive podcasts. They have some great stuff about Hollywood history, and they have enough true crime content to make you want to double check your deadbolt at night. Audible fits right into your lifestyle. Listen to audiobooks when you do chores or exercise, or just carve out a little me time for yourself and slip into that new pulp thriller or that classic that has been on your to-do list since junior high. With everything you love to listen to all in one app, Audible Plus is like your playlist for life. New members can always try Audible Plus for 30 days for free. Visit audible.com/Rogue Theory or text Rogue Theory to 500-500. Again, that's audible.com/Rogue Theory or text Rogue Theory to 500-500. We also want to thank our friends at Blue Chew for sponsoring this episode. So our buddies at Blue Chew have a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in a chewable form that is at a fraction of the cost, but at least 2 whole numbers more than you would normally get on an average day in other ways. Blue Chew is an online prescription service, so no doctor's office or pharmacy trips. It ships right to your door in a discreet package, but your package will be anything but discreet. You sign up at bluechew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Their licensed medical providers work with you to find the right ingredient and strength. So if you hate swallowing pills, good news, folks. Blue Chew is chewable, like it says in the name. So if you could benefit from extra confidence when it's time to perform, visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we've got a special deal for our audience. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code ROGUE at checkout. Just pay the $5 of shipping. That's bluechew.com, promo code ROGUE, to receive your first month for free. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast and giving us the giddy little school kid laughs that we have when we talk about it. And New Rockstars also wants to thank Stereo for sponsoring us. We've been partnering with the Stereo app on a whole new slate of exclusive shows. We're putting up almost as much content on Stereo as we are on YouTube. I don't know how we're doing it all at once, but we're making it work. Most of this stuff only exists on Stereo, which is free, and you can get by going to stereo.com/New Rockstars. Every week, we're pumping out at least 4 shows there, folks. We preview what's coming up in pop culture, like with New Rockstars News on Wednesdays and our Falcon Winter Soldier preview show on Thursdays. And then we're reviewing what's already out there in our Inside Marvel reaction show on Fridays with me and MT, and then we have an editor's show on Mondays. And the best part of Stereo is you get to be a part of the show. You submit audio messages with your questions and your theories and your reactions, and we'll play those voice messages and react to them in real time. Sometimes it'll even show up on the YouTube channel later. So you'll be a star, baby! And right now, you can go back and listen to all of our previous episodes on any of our shows on the Stereo app, and you access these live shows, you share your questions and theories, and interact with us in real time by downloading the free Stereo app at stereo.com/New Rockstars. That's stereo.com/New Rockstars. All right, let's get back to the Snyder Cut. So its most dramatic change to the rules of the DC world really involved Barry Allen reversing time. First, he used this Speed Force to reverse that mother box during Superman's resurrection scene in the Kryptonian chamber. And then in the final act, to reverse the whole mother box unity and the world's destruction. Insane. Now, these moves, plus a bunch of other little clues around Barry's father, Henry Allen, saying stuff like, I don't want you to run in place on a treadmill, or, talking about his mother's unexplained mystery murder. This is all setting up the upcoming Flash movie. movie. It's coming November 2022. It's gonna adapt the Flashpoint Paradox comics, in which Barry Allen really just runs back in time to try to prevent his mother's murder, but in doing so, skews up all the timelines of the DC world. So this movie event's going to be an insane crossover event. It's going to feature Ben Affleck Batman, but also Michael Keaton Batman. There's talk of Danny DeVito Penguin and Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne showing up. Let's try to clear up the Flash timeline logic that Snyder presented in his cut of the Justice League and look ahead to what this will mean for this 2022 Flash movie. So, first off, what do we think? What alternate timelines did we see in the Snyder Cut? What was an alternate timeline? What was the timeline we're currently on? Do we have any guesses there?
I mean, obviously that Nightmare timeline. Like when I saw like Deathstroke and Mara, like all I got was flashes of, no pun intended, of the Flashpoint Paradox cartoon movie, animated movie,
which is so good.
Which is
Absolutely
fantastic.
amazing.
If you guys have
Check
not
that
seen
out.
that film, you have to see it. Like that was my first experience with the Flashpoint Paradox. It is a phenomenal work. But yeah, it had like all these DC characters in different roles because like everything, the timeline was messed up. So like obviously that Nightmare scenario is going to be its own timeline. And I do believe that we're going to see that again in Flashpoint Paradox, with possibly even two Barrys interacting and just be like, oh, hey, Barry from the Snyder Cut. Hello, a Dusty World Barry. Let's maybe work together. Who knows?
We've already gotten a hint of that from the Arrowverse, the CW series where, you know, Ezra Miller showed up and there was like the two Barrys talking to each other. And that is canon. It's tying in that Arrowverse and folding it into the DCEU in a cool way. So yeah, I think we've already seen a bit of that. We'll probably see more of it.
And if there's anything that we can attribute to the Grant Gustin series, it's that it's given more life into what not many people know about the Flash storyline. And obviously a very key important character in the Flashpoint series is Eobard Thawne, you know, Reverse Flash. And the instigation, if you will, that Eobard does to Barry to cause him to create that secondary timeline. I do think, though, that we actually witnessed a portion of that timeline creation, secondary timeline creation, with that going back in time, ultimately creating two different parallels, with one where, like you were saying, the apocalypse did happen and this is who's left, and then the one that was saved. And I feel like they're going to take whoever takes the wheels from here for the Flash movies and so forth, they're going to take it on a more literal sense. Every time time is rewound, a new timeline is created. In any instance, no corrections. I mean, if there's any example of that, it's been in the modern interpretations of like the Rebirth and New 52s and DC Comics, where we see kind of the wrap up, if you will, of the Flashpoint series. So I really feel like we're going to create several timelines, ultimately kind of surpassing, odd to say, Marvel in their ability to create multiple timelines as of yet, if they can get this out and done in time and well enough.
Yeah. And I definitely think, you know, just going off of what Eddie said, when they do release this movie, it's going to be extremely chaotic because we're seeing Barry Allen afraid of his ability to do this. You know, he just kind of vaguely says time. What does he say? Like time gets weird or something very vague.
Yeah,
like
he's
that.
like the rules. He's like, when I approach the speed of light, I start to break time or something.
Yeah,
something
he's
like that.
afraid of it. So he's going to be, so to speak, running head first into this and then probably trying to correct whatever timelines happen. We've seen it in the past with the Flashpoint Paradox where Barry Allen has gone to a timeline where he doesn't have his powers, where maybe Batman's parents live, but Bruce Wayne dies.
Yeah.
We've seen many different timelines here, and there's so many characters that you can play with and characters that you can work with. And then, of course, now with the Snyderverse, we've got the Nightmare alternate timeline too. And so I definitely think that there's a lot of potential for this movie to be chaotic, but in the best way possible.
And it'd be a great shoe-in to introduce Jay Garrick at the tail end when you have this fumbling Barry who's going all over the place and creating all these multiple timelines, almost comedic, to where it's like, wait, no, I can fix this. And then at the tail end, Jay shows up. He's like, look, son, let me show you how it's done.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
The OG.
I mean, when they did, when Andy Muschietti and Ezra Miller and the Flash team, Christina Hodson, showed up to talk about their Flash movie, just a 5-minute segment at DC Fandom in August, like, they were kind of indicating that they're not afraid to pull in any element from any past DC Warner Brothers adaptation. I mean, they showed freaking Constantine. They showed all the different Batman. I think the only one they didn't show was Christian Bale, because I think they're still pretty protective of what Nolan created. But like, yeah, the fact they're bringing in Michael Keaton, maybe Danny DeVito, DC is in a position right now to do the multiverse so much better than what Marvel has done so far. In WandaVision, we didn't really see the multiverse blow up yet. Endgame, I would say, kind of backpedaled from the implications they created of alternate timelines. Like, even the directors and the screenwriters of Endgame were not on the same page of what the multiverse implications of their movie was. Whereas right now, Muschietti seems like ready to dive in head first, because it's like they have nothing to lose. Because people have been like criticizing this cinematic universe for its inconsistencies, and now they're just like, all right, we're just going to say that the Flash did all of this.
Like, give me a rake. We're going to start from the beginning and just scoop it all in. Just
yeah,
blame it
why
all
not?
on
They do
Barry.
have nothing to lose. Yeah,
That goofy
I think
kid.
it could totally work. Just Ezra Miller's sense of humor and Muschietti's abilities as a director, if they can get cameos by Michael Keaton in this, hell, go crazy with it.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of it, you do a New 52 rebirth. You'd have Robert Pattinson Batman, and this is what it is going forward.
Hold up. Let me ask you guys a question, because something just popped into my head. How would you feel if Zack Snyder said, guess what, guys? Watchmen. How would you guys feel about that? If, like, somehow the Flashpoint movie introduced the Watchmen characters from that film that he directed many years ago.
Funny that you say. There is a current, well, it just finished, current series called Doomsday Clock, where they've actually brought back, due to Barry Allen's instigating of the Speed Force and the timelines, brings back into the current 616, I'm sorry, in the current Earth 1, sorry, jumping things, Earth 1, brings the Watchmen into that particular universe and essentially creates this storyline where Dr. Manhattan was the one who had essentially manipulated the timelines in the Speed Force and created these multiple timelines to determine if humanity can actually be gracious and humane to each other as a test.
That's awesome.
So the storyline is a really great story. It's a 12-month issue run. And everything, oddly enough, spoiler alert, oddly enough, everything surrounds Superman, and why the only reason why Dr. Manhattan does not destroy the world itself and create a new one is because Superman is that one last shred of hope that humanity can still be genuine to each other.
Yeah.
So,
I love that idea. And like in that Flash panel at DC Fandom, they reference Watchmen. I'm pretty sure it was the HBO Watchmen and not the Zack Snyder Watchmen, which is even crazier if they try to bring in
Regina King. I'm cool with that.
Pull them in.
Me too. She's awesome.
But yeah, I'm so excited for this Flash movie. And a lot of people are saying that Spider-Man No Way Home is going to be a multiverse story. The more we see about it, the more I'm thinking, I don't know if we're going to see Toby and Andy show up in there. I think but I do think this Flash movie, it's like, we could get real bonkers with this one.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
No, I could see Barry Allen getting comfortable with, changing these timelines to the point where he ends up like changing the course of things just for a hot dog again, just going back to that whole, you know what I mean? Like he's like, oh no, the hot dog fell, and he like goes back in time and creates another timeline just to like save a hot dog. Like, I think
that's what I would do.
They can get really zany with it. Yeah.
I would say it would be a fun little campaign if they started doing hashtag Barry gave us bat nipples. That's what I'm saying. If that was,
it was all him.
It was all Barry.
Barry
is responsible for the nipple.
Bat nip, yeah.
Barry gave us bat nips.
Yeah. I love that so much.
Oh, there's so much to work with.
I really do hope, because like, as we saw in shows like Smallville, and not just in CW shows, these DC actors keep coming back. Lionel Luthor in Smallville was the doctor to Poison Ivy in Batman and Robin. Same actor. Martha Kent played Lana Lang in Superman 3 in Smallville. And you follow these CWverse shows, like they all keep bringing back people all the time. So if they could find a way to bring in all these cameos in this movie, here for it.
I'd love to see a Scarecrow or something.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Scarecrow needs more screen time.
So I got to give the point again to Eddie on that one, bringing that whole Watchmen and finding the way to link that together. I think that'd be great. So you're getting the point there. But it's still anyone's game because we got a couple rogue questions coming up. So first question, the first episode of The Falcon Winter Soldier brought up some good questions about how the Avengers get paid. So the question is, do you think the Avengers should be paid? And if so, what should their income be? And how would they justify their pay raises and stuff like that?
Like, how high of a risk, maybe like you've got, I'm not sure here, but I'm thinking
right.
hourly.
Hazard pay should kick in if you're an Avenger.
Exactly. And like there's overtime, there's holiday too. Yeah.
Take a holiday, Batman. Crime will wait. It's fine.
There's retirement, like there's a 401k or something involved in there.
Yeah. Oh, so you mean hourly as a good thing, not like because if it's salary, that's all they get paid. But if they can get clock in some OT in there,
yeah, because if someone
so they can pay more.
Exactly. Okay. If someone's doing higher risk, longer, jobs essentially, then they should be. I don't know, honestly. I don't want to make any statements here because I feel like everyone's going to argue with me in the comments. But I'd say that, some of if there are any characters that are like doing more, I would hope that they would be compensated in some way.
I think we should have J. Jonah Jameson head the Avengers and pay them by the job. Just terribly pay them by the
trash.
Wow.
They're just independent contractors now. Yeah. This one sucks. I'm not going to pay you. No.
But I think that if the Avengers do get paid, I think that they should get paid very little because Falcon in the episode 1 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier said that it was mainly based in goodwill. And I feel like once you start, paying people and becoming heroes for hire, Luke Cage shout out, hey, then like more people will try to, I don't know, become Avengers, like Mysterio in a way, just like, like I want to be an Avenger because like that's a great pay and like that's a job. And
that would be fun to see though. I'd watch that. No.
MT making the college football payment argument, like, oh, they're getting paid in education. They're doing it for the love of the game.
So I honestly
disagree.
I honestly think that, this is like a volunteer thing, and then like the people with really good hearts should become Avengers.
They're paid in good karma.
Sure.
Yeah, just
sure,
like
but they should be at least given some salary. They can't.
Yeah, they should be given like some type a livable wage, but nothing like super
Living
crazy
wage.
that entices people to like want to become a hero just to get paid. I don't know.
For
That's
the
just
money.
me.
How about this? Like they at least fund their housing. Right?
Yes.
Like there's housing.
They let them stay on the business compound.
Yeah, like the essentials are covered, and then beyond that, it's little.
But when they get injured on the job, they're done. Sorry.
Yeah.
No retirement.
We don't pay health insurance here. Just figure it out, all right?
Very true. Very true.
Just grab some ice.
I would say we would have to like incorporate something like in One Punch Man, create like a system where they get paid if they're consistent every week in something, and they'll get like a stipend every week. Because they are heroes and they do it out of the goodness of their heart. Yes, they should get something, but the thing is, it goes back to where's it going to come from, who's gonna foot that bill, and it's really interesting how it gets into the weeds of all that. But yeah, I think there should be like a tiered system where the more they go up in rank as a superhero, the more they'll get paid.
Yeah, I think that's a sensible answer. However, all three of you are wrong. The correct answer is capital should be abolished and people should be giving a universal basic income and no one should be participating in an evil capitalist structure.
I was the closest.
Your assigned reading is the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx.
I was just going to say, that sounds very communist.
I was the closest with covering their house, like their housing.
You were. So Angelica gets a point.
See, look, I don't get paid because I'm not. Because that's what I wanted. I just didn't want to get paid, so I just don't have any bucks there. That's why. This is the future I decided for myself.
Yep.
There
is. Yeah. Great. You're in future. Yep. All right. Another question here. March 26th, which could be tomorrow, depending on when you're seeing this, has been declared Leonard Nimoy Day in Boston in recognition of the Boston-born Spock actor. So, what is the best way to celebrate Leonard Nimoy Day?
Everybody find an opportunity to find William Shatner and kick him down.
Oh my God.
Oh my
He just
God.
turned 90. He just turned 90 years old.
Today. His
my
birthday is
God.
literally as we're filming right now. Just kick his ass on his birthday. Why not?
Oh my God.
Birthday beatings to a 90-year-old man. Let's just do that.
Leonard.
For Leonard.
Well, as a Trekkie, I would have to say that you'd have to go around for the entire day using extreme logic and raising one eyebrow. You know?
Yep.
Spock style.
So.
Yeah.
Spock would like that.
You can greet people like this too, because honestly, it's good for, the current situation. You don't have to touch anybody. Just go like this.
Right.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Honestly, I say we all just do Spock shots on the 26th. You just,
Shots.
it's just a regular shot, but like you hold it like this.
I was just gonna say,
it could be anything.
And then it's just like, it's pinky and a ring finger out. Spock
doesn't that
shot.
turn into like Penguin Day then now? We're like, okay, Penguin,
Yeah.
just...
Is this... I get this is more like Ninja Turtle to me, sort of like.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I love it.
Anyway, hashtag spot shots.
Spot shots. Are they?
And I'm in Boston right now, so like it's about to be lit over here on Leonard Nimoy Day. You know what I'm saying?
Hell yeah.
I'm giving MT the point for Spock shot.
Oh,
I love that.
Thank you, my friend.
So well done. But I think if my math is correct, Eddie Villanueva is our winner.
And
of
rightfully
David's Sort of
so.
Rogue Theory. Well done. Well done to all of you. This has been such an enlightening conversation. I could talk with you guys for hours and hours. But if this goes longer than an hour, no one clicks on the video. So that is it for this episode of Rogue Theory. I want to thank all three of our guests, MT, Angelica Trae, and Eddie Villanueva. Follow all of them on their social medias. Support them wherever they are. Show them some love. And support this channel by checking out one of our many great merch options at newrockstarsmerch.com. Follow me at EA Voss. Follow New Rockstars. Subscribe here on YouTube. And a reminder to download the Stereo app by going to stereo.com/newrockstars. You can listen to our 4 new weekly live shows, including Inside Marvel with myself and MT, talking about whatever the episode of Falcon Winter Soldier is. And you can download this app for free on Apple and Android and create an avatar and profile. See you next time, everybody. See you in some other future. And don't you dare send some boy wonders to do a man's job.